Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And today we're getting down on some more My Hero Academia.
Yes.
We, you know us as big superhero fans.
Yeah.
And pretty much the past couple episodes have been just superhero stuff. Sorry, we got off the horror train and got on the superhero train. And we're gonna continue it today with some Japanese heroism in My Hero Academia.
Season 5.
Season 5. Now, we're not going to do the new movie because I missed it. And Deshaun
You missed the boat. I saw
it. Again, very much ahead of me. And I have not headed to the high seas at all to try to see it. I have been a good boy and have been not seen it yet. And but I did storm through season 5 this week. And Deshaun is, of course, an expert on this. So we're excited we're going to go episode by episode. If you did miss our original epised on My Hero,
where we covered seasons 1 through 4 and the first 2 movies on one big chunk.
Big boy episode. And of course, this will be more, from now on, if we cover My Hero, it'll be like this, where we'll try to do our signature deep dive, where we're going real deep, but we want to...
It's definitely easier to talk about things season by season as opposed to covering all bases.
Yeah, exactly. Because, of course, there's more holes in your argument when you're generalizing whole seasons.
Yeah.
You know, but if go back to that episode, check it out. Thank you guys for supporting the show. And guys, let's get down to it. I'm excited that I was so excited for season 5 to be back. I was just going to watch it in one big chunk, and I did. You watched it week to week?
I watched it week to week for about most of the first half of it, and then fell behind for other reasons. And then once the movie was coming around, and I'm like, okay, I literally bought my ticket for 2 weeks from now, time to get through this. And so I picked a weekend and just watched the rest of the second half.
And I think that season 5, it's one of those things where a lot of shows do not get this many seasons, so it's kind of it's a pretty big season for a lot of shows. Season 5s can make or break a lot of things. And,
not that in this case, especially with an anime, really functions the same way as American season 5s would.
No, definitely not.
No.
Because of course there's based material, you know, and of course My Hero is an absolute international juggernaut. So it's one of those things that it just can't be fucking stopped. Now where I said, I'm a huge fan of this series. It speaks to me in a lot of ways. It's one of those things that Deku, I know a lot of people see themselves in a lot of characters. That's the fun of it. It's why it's like X-Men, but the entire planet is X-Men. You know, that's how I explain it to American audiences. I'm like, what if the entire planet, or what if Syndrome's plan came true? You know, you're like, hey, and I just love this show because there's so much a lot of people can watch this and get so much from it. And I know a lot of people look at Deku and really empathize with them, and I think that's actually a really great thing, you know, that a lot of people feel that need to help people, you know, it's actually really encouraging.
He's a good boy, that Midoriya.
He is, and for me, he's one of my favorite shonen heroes, hands down. You know, of course, Goku could beat him up.
Well, could he? Yeah, exactly. Well, could he be Goku, though? I hate the Dragon Ball fandom sometimes.
But I do love Dragon Ball. But it's definitely one of those things that a lot of people do hate on Deku because, of course, I think teenagers have, of course, ruined a lot of things for the older audiences. But guys, leave the teenagers alone. They can enjoy things, especially something that's literally aimed at them, you know, you're like,
God forbid
the
actual demographic watches this show.
You're like, are you guys kidding me? Now I think that I said it before, I feel deep down that I want to rush and help in situations like that, and and be as helpful as possible. And I think that Deku, even though he gets shit on for being the most crying shonen protagonist in a very long time,
Not really, because the thing is, that was a thing in the first 2 seasons. After that, it's
I
not...
love that they made the joke in the New Year's Eve episode.
Yeah.
That they both cried so much that they flooded the entire thing.
Yeah, but it's also like doesn't really come up that often anymore. It's kind of like when people make fun of like Naruto for saying "believe it" all the time. I'm like, that was a thing early on, but that stopped.
Yeah.
Like a while back. It's not really a thing anymore. And plus, I've also watched all of Demon Slayer, and Tanjiro definitely like steals that title for crying and crying and crying. There's like, I swear the last like 7 minutes of the Demon Slayer movie is like people crying. I'm like, stop
crying. Not that crying's bad. Be in touch with your feelings, guys. It's better to be in touch with your feelings than push them way down. Like, you could explode.
Yeah.
But I think that it's funny because I'm a huge Deku head, but one of my favorite things about season 5 is that I became kind of a Bakugo head. Like, like
I've been a Bakugo head since like season.
I knew you
since like season 2. He's a shithead.
He's a shithead.
Yeah,
but he definitely like really shines. I think in this season, I think he in a season where it's definitely supposed to be aimed at Deku and say his name. Here's
Todoroki. Icy Hot.
Yes,
Icy Hot. Todoroki.
Thank you, Todoroki. Is that like it's a season where it's supposed to be about them two, and somehow Bakugo like steals the fucking spotlight, like, and you're like fuck yeah, dude, keep it up.
I love Bakugo.
You're like, hell yeah, keep it up, bruh. I do think that I will say right off the bat that this season does not start with an utter bang in any way.
No, and to be honest, like I feel like every half of a My Hero season since season 2 always has like a bit of a lull.
Yeah.
Like season 2, the sports festival is hype as shit. And then you get the Stain stuff in the second half of season 2, which, is good. It was good, but it's not like sports festival good. And then with season 3, you like get the fucking All Might versus All for One fight, and that's like hype as shit.
Yeah.
And then you get the licensing exams. So you're like,
yeah. And I think that them doing the class versus for literally 5 episodes
it feels too much like something we've already tackled before, like the licensing
because
exam.
The first episode is just them recapping who everyone is.
Yeah, we do that every time.
And how much they've jumped in power, and then all the real accomplishment that happens from them fighting each other is that like you get to show off all your new powers, like it's just like wait, sure. But I do think that this season absolutely picks up, and then once it picks up, it runs. And then by the end of it,
basically by the time we get to like the My Villain Academia shit, that was like, okay, I'm fucking in now.
Yeah, I was like, I'm finishing this season right now. I was like, this is happening. But we do want to go episode by episode, but I did want to kind of give an overview of what I feel like everyone's gonna feel for this season. I don't know if you guys feel the same, if you really like the team versus team episodes, but I do feel like they're, like you said, kind of a lull, because but it's not bad. I think that there was a lot of great flashbacks to their working with their hero provisional things.
Yeah, and it was also cool to see like Shinzo again for the first time since the sports festival, to see like where he's at in his own journey.
He was obviously the best part. Yeah. You're like, okay, yeah.
And it is cool to just see like what other crazy powers does like these other classes have.
Like,
and plus 1A versus 1B has been a long time coming.
Yeah. And of course, what's his name? The screaming guy.
Yeah.
He just had a day.
Anuma, I think his name is.
Yeah. He had a field day.
Forever salty. That class 1A gets all the attention.
It's great. And I really do think that this season, it picks up and runs, and that's what really seals this. I think that it's literally after that arc that you're like, you're like, okay, now we're moving. You
Yeah,
know,
which is, there's an interesting thing to note for this season from an adaptational standpoint.
Oh, okay.
They actually switched the Endeavor training stuff and the My Villain Academia stuff around.
Interesting.
In the manga, you got the Endeavor stuff afterwards. Here, they swapped it, which was just like a point of contention for the manga fans.
Interesting.
But for most of the people I know who only watch the anime, it's just like, well, as an anime-only watcher, I didn't notice.
Yeah, you're like,
This wasn't a thing like Promise Neverland where, like, I got further into season 2, I'm like, why do I feel like they're fucking with stuff?
Yeah, you're like, something's weird.
Yeah, I didn't get any sort of, like, instinct for that.
No, I definitely didn't feel that. I was just kind of like, I like that when they started the My Hero stuff, they were like, 3 months ago. And I was like, great, now they set the timeline, and now we're building towards that sinking of that entire city. How could have that been possible? You know,
Yeah.
like, and you're like, especially with just from
Todoroki.
Yeah, and you're just like, damn, like what the fuck happened there? And then to actually get a full fucking arc about it, you're like, yeah, baby.
I remember when this was being advertised because I would usually see the occasional cover for like a My Hero volume and be like, I have no context for this, so who knows when I'll get to that.
Yeah, right.
But I remember seeing the volume covers that changed it to My Villain Academia. I'm like, ooh.
So let's get down. Let's get into each episode. First up, we already kind of talked about it. The all hands on deck Class 1A.
Yeah, recap episode.
The recap
obligatory episode.
It's obligatory. It's fun because Calamari's there. Or how do they mispronounce? They're like saying it differently.
Sunreacher. Is his hero name.
Oh, okay. But they call him Sun. It's like almost calamari.
Yeah.
But they're like making a joke. I love it. But I think that was fun that those three heroes were helping them. That was the part of the episode that was like thumbs up. Like this is pretty good.
It has one of the funniest bits. Is the fucking bit where Lemillion is like pretending to drown and his head is spinning, just like, hope I don't die.
And he just keeps jumping off the cliff, so he's like,
oh no! Yeah, that was great.
That was so good. And yeah, he's just, I definitely think he was underutilized this season, but it's not his season, you know?
Well,
like, it's not his...
and there's only so much to cover for him now, unless we find the obligatory cure to give him back his quirk, because he's quirkless right now.
Right.
And plus you get that stuff with like Aerie with her horn growing back that we don't quite pay off, so I'm sure he might be more involved later on with that.
Yeah, I think we're building there. But that's pretty much sums up that episode. And next up is actually one of the higher rated episodes this season, Vestiges, where it's basically flashbacking on Hawk and Endeavor talking through stuff as Hawks is going undercover with the League of Villains. So it's actually kind of this like great almost police drama. It feels like The Departed, where we're like multiple timelines.
Who's the rat?
You're like, who's the rat? And like I actually really like this because it's first off a giant world builder episode. It's like, hey, there's a lot more going on that we don't know about, and
yeah,
we need to do something about it. You know, like we need to actually look into it. And of course, it's like kind of starts with Endeavor being like, if I find out it's you, Hawks, like if you're like betraying us, I'll kill you.
You're
like,
cooked, boy.
I'll cook you. Like, and you're just like, Jesus. I do enjoy that this episode has also a lot with Endeavor and his family, and it's the start of like their family dinner.
Yeah, trying to reconstruct the pieces from this dysfunctional family, which is good that they're delving into it, because that was one of both the criticism when that arc was out in the manga, as well as when we had the last season where he fought the big Nomu.
Yeah.
It's just like, really? You're not going to try and tell me that just because he beat a Nomu, that's it. Like, that's his redemption arc.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we'll probably get into that. Now we're starting to, like, really get into it.
Really
and actually get other people's POVs in the family besides just Todoroki's.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that this season. I think that really helps, you know, and it builds to this. Because without... All Might's pretty much taken out of this entire story, you know,
More or less, yeah.
more or less, you know, like of course he's inspiring and influencing the story, but it's one of those things where you're like he's pretty much out of this, so we need like we are looking at Endeavor.
Yeah, season 3 with that All for One fight was sort of like a like basically the death of All Might the hero in a thematic sense without actually having to like kill him off.
Yeah.
So you see like the reverberations of that.
But I really I love what they don't do anything with him all season, but that one little scene at the end was really quite good. We'll talk about it when we get to the end episodes, but it's one of those things that you're like literally we need to like deep dive on Endeavor because he is the future, you know, like of what we're working towards. It's a solid episode. I definitely give credit to that. Next up is the beginning of the Class A versus Class B. And it's, you know, them battling it out to see who the best. And it's in the first fight is Todoroki. I mean, what the fuck is the Toad's name? I'm never gonna remember everyone's names here. I'm sorry, guys. There's so
Describe
many names. Toad.
Oh, Froppy.
Froppy. Sorry. And
Suyu.
And Suyu and it's a whole.
I'll have more trouble remembering the Class 1B characters because they're not like principal recurring characters.
But basically, it's the first group going out. We get to see our new guy's new abilities showing off for the first time of using his mask a little bit.
To change like the frequency of his voice to mimic people,
and which is it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
it's pretty dope, dude. And I definitely like this fight. I think that this fight is actually quite even for a lot of it. I love the Sasquatch guy. I think he's pretty cool. Of course, I'm like, hey, that's a kaiju. Let's go. You know, like,
where the fuck is Godzilla?
I know.
I'm never gonna forget Godzilla from that first My Hero movie.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Look, it's a monster.
It's the pro hero, Godzilla. I'm just like, you can't just throw that in my face and not show me like I want to know everything about this man.
You're just like, wait, hold on. Now I do think that the problem with this episode is the problem with this entire arc is its setup. It's just kind of like, it's just like, and even again, this episode alone is like set up to the fight.
Yeah,
right?
And again, the thing with like this whole little bit of the first half of the season is that it does feel like something we've already gotten before. Like with the sports festival, it feels a lot like the hero licensing exam as well, which is also just like, okay, guys.
Yeah, which like
as much as like it was inevitable that we were gonna have like a face off between 1A and 1B. I feel like we could have found a more interesting circumstance to pit them against each other.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that like I can hear the criticism of what we're saying right now is that the show's called My Hero Academia. It's about them learning to be heroes, and I'm not saying axe every class episode. That's definitely not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is dragging this one particular class out for 6 episodes is rough. I would have taken 6 or 7 episodes of like different classes happening. But that this takes up this much time makes me be like, wait, hold on. What about the rest of their semester? You know, like you're like, what else were they up to?
Yeah,
you know, like,
which it's weird how this show has been paced. Yeah, because when you look at the actual timeline, it actually hasn't been that long into their first year at all.
No,
like they're still in their first year after everything that's happened, and this is only like the second or third semester. After like, everything that's gone down,
you're like, it made me when they were like, we're wrapping up our first year at the end of this season. I was like, the fuck you say? I was like, wait, hold on, no, that doesn't sound.
That's
right.
A rough freshman year.
Yeah, like that's like I had a rough freshman year. I was real awkward, but like this sounds bad. Now, moving on to the actual fight episode, Make It Happen, Shinso. And Shinso does make it happen, baby. He fucking tricks them all up, uses the mask to make them all respond to him, and then boom, he's got them under mind control.
Yeah.
boom. I do want to say I do love the rules of this challenge as much as like I am kind of like this is Phil, but you're like this is. I do like that you have to bring everyone to the cage. It's just not knock them out. It's like you got to get them back. You know, like it's not just like a fighting prowess. It's like you got to get away from the team.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely dig that. You're like maybe make that a My Hero Academia game. That would be cooler than your fighting games that you came out with already. Like you're like that would be better.
Apparently the Demon Slayer game is doing super well, so maybe they just need to fucking get CyberConnect to just make most of these.
Maybe.
Those seem to be the ones that sell.
I just want the one that I want game wise is of course that you saw that Cell game that's coming out. It's a survival.
Dead by Dragon Ball, you mean?
Dead by Dragon Ball.
Like Dead by Daylight as a Dragon Ball? Sure.
I know. I had just started playing Dead by Daylight when I saw that trailer, and I was like, never mind Dead by Daylight.
I'm glad we want to continue to emphasize just how creepy in first form Cell is. He drinks people.
Yeah, you're like,
but it's just like, okay. Sure.
So I will say I do like Shinso's like determination. I'm always for like his like I want to prove that I deserve to be in the hero course, and that was like a cool consequence that they added to these episodes. I definitely think that that's the consequences here, you know, like other than we lose to the other class, you know, like, which is the consequence always, I guess, but like that he might not get into hero program by the way he acts in this. And you're like, okay, let's see what he does, you know, like, I definitely like that was the added stakes, you know, like, and this fight's quite good. For this episode. And then let's go on to the next fight is Operation New Improved Moves. This is the next episode. Tokiyama's face off against Shiri Kurio and his dark quirk. So 2 dark power guys. And they Shihai. Sorry guys. I don't mean to be offensive. I'm just terrible at pronouncing things.
Yep.
Please recognize
if you're a long time listener, you know.
Please recognize that I am just dumb and trying not to be offensive. And I think that this is another fun. It's fun, and we get to see the dark powers stepped up from working with Hawks, and you get more Hawks time.
Dark Shadow.
This episode, Dark Shadow really gets to step up. He gets to fly.
Yeah,
which is cool.
You get like the
I think that's what elevates this episode to being probably the best of this arc.
You get like the Sabbath technique of him like gliding and stuff, which we had only we had seen in the second movie.
Yeah.
But the second movie's like a little forward, so there's like certain things that hadn't been established yet.
Yeah, and I do like that's what this arc is used for, is kind of like flashing back to things we missed, you know, like, and you're like, that's cool. You're like, I'm fine with that. And I do say that this is one of the best episodes, but definitely the conclusion of this is obviously the best episode in this arc. It's obviously the best episode. It's the best fight. But Operation New Improved Moves is a good episode. You get to see lots of cool shadow powers. It's got great animation moments. I dug it.
I just like Tokiyami's just quirk.
Yeah.
His whole deal. I'm a bird and I have a bird shadow. I'm down. It's really cool.
It is. It's got when you describe it like that, which is pretty much what it is.
Yeah. When you boil down things to their essentials, or maybe not essentials, to their like most basic descriptions, it'll make anything sound stupid.
Next up is episode 6, Foresight. Now, the one move from with the cannon is definitely one of the best moves in this episode. In this whole arc. The Yayorozu. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I don't mean to. That's why I'm trying to hand it off to Sean here, but I can't fucking handle it. And I do love that she breaks out the fucking cannon to fucking freak them out, and and then is able to use a lot of strategy there, and it's actually really cool. I do think that they kind of I do like the other team that they're fighting here too, the Mushroom Girl. I think that
quirk is really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
It's
you're
just
like,
ugh.
And also just how much they like literally almost have to kill him in the next episode. You're just, I mean, in this episode, you're just like, Jesus Christ. Like, you're like, did we need to almost kill him? Jeez. But moving on to the start of match 3. So match 3 is of course my goodness.
It's the big Ida moment.
It's a big Ida gets to fucking yeet. And we get Icy Hot. We get fucking Icy Hot.
You can call him Icy Hot. It's what Bakugo calls him, so
I'm
why
gonna call
not?
him that. Why not? It's Icy Hot's on this team, and this is actually pretty well-rounded team, but you kind of go, how the hell are you guys gonna how you gonna beat this? You know, like how you guys gonna like, you know, like how you gonna beat them?
I like it when we start to, because it's one of those things where it's like, it's very much a suspension of disbelief thing, the way My Hero's quirks works. It's like, sure, this guy has super strength. This guy literally has comic book speech bubbles for a head. Fuck it. Who cares? But I like it when they start to delve into like the nitty gritty of it, and it's almost kind of disturbing. Kind of like the way like BoJack Horseman has talking animals, but they also eat meat, and then they have an episode dedicated. It's like, oh, but these are like the dumb animals that we kill and eat. You're like, what? I kind of like had that vibes where like, oh yeah, Ida is kind of weird. He straight up has like metal fucking exhaust pipes on his legs,
and
then
they're ripping it out of himself to improve it,
and grow it back. I'm like, oh god, that's like when an eagle knocks its beak off to grow a new one. You're like, woo.
Yeah, you're like nature is metal. Like you're like, I guess so. You're like, Jesus Christ. I do think that that's just the most disturbing part of that episode. And probably this arc. You're just like, please, not that again. Whatever that was, let's not deep dive into that. But then, of course, I think with the delving into the powers super deep, they do it with Toga at the end of the season, where she's obsessed with blood, and you're like, of course she is. You're like, that's who she is deep down, isn't it? You know, like, and you're like, oh fuck.
There's a few oh fucks in the My Villain Academia section. Yes. We'll get to it.
Yeah, definitely. You're just like, so match 3 conclusion, though, I was saying, is definitely one of the better ones, where he's trying to heat up Tetsu, and he's trying to just like pretty much melt him down. And I do like that fight. And the guy who could turn things soft when he touches them, that's this fight, right?
I'm pretty sure,
Pretty sure. And you're just like, damn, like what the shit? Like that is this fight. And you're just like, that is a crazy power. You're like, okay.
Yeah, it boils down to like those. It boils down to like, anime is really good at strategic fighting like that, because as much as we love superhero comics, it tends to kind of boil down a lot of the times to like
punch real hard. This time I surprised him.
But then when you get like that anime, just like, this is how the strategy's gonna go, and because this is an anime and we love hearing everyone's inner monologue literally all the time, every episode, you're gonna get all the details of our plan.
Every single
time.
Yeah, and I definitely enjoy that about this arc, is that they like try to show you that all improvements not only in moves but in their thought processes, you know, like, and how much they've matured, you know, like in kind of pushing that forward. And it's just it's a fun animated episode, you know, looks great the whole time, you know, like it's a good one. Now next up is Early Bird, which is of course the start of the last round here. No, this is the fourth team. Sorry, I'm trying to speed through this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. It's longer than I remembered it was.
Yeah, it's also fresher on your minds because you had like just seen it. I watched it like a few weeks ago when the third movie came out.
And so Bakugo shows a different side of himself in the fourth team match as the class battle continues, which you're like, and we're going again. You're like, okay. But I think Bakugo's team is actually pretty well rounded with him on it. You know, like it's it's
Bakugo, Jiro, Sugar Rush, and Sero.
Yeah, and they don't use Sugar Rush enough, so it's actually really great to see some Sugar Rush here. I don't know why I like Sugar Rush.
The tough thing about Sugar Rush is that he's basically just another brute, except the only difference is that he needs to like eat sweets to power himself up. But
I don't know why that shit cracks me up.
Yeah, it is funny. It's very creative, but we sort of already have a brute with both Deku and Kirishima, so it makes him kind of redundant.
Yeah. Definitely. And you're just like, all right. And so they don't really use them that often. So it's nice to see him do it here. I definitely liked, this was, you know, like the start of the season for me where I was like, oh, Bakugo is on a different level this season, you know, like where he's just like, no. Now that I know what Deku is and what my finish line is, I'm gonna fucking cross this shit, you know, like, and you're just like, okay, buddy, like,
he's got that Vegeta-like motivation.
Yeah, right. He's just like, hey, and I'm gonna fuck up the entire world to get this.
Yep,
like,
to get even.
You're just like, Jesus Christ. Now, this. The early bird is a really fast episode in a way because of course Bakugo just kicks their ass, you know, like it's just kind of like, and you're just like,
sorry,
you're like, and you're just like you asked for it. So the next episode though is the reason why this whole arc is even interesting in the first place to me. Of course, is that which is inherited. This is the episode where Midoriya and Shinsu face off, but which is of course badass. You're like, hey, back to the sports festival, you know, like hell yeah. But obviously, why this episode stands out is we're introducing that All For One isn't just super strength.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been led to believe this entire time, pretty much.
This was
that all the All For One possessors were just really strong.
I think I said this when we did the first My Hero Academia episode, where it's like, I think my prediction is that he doesn't have just one power. I think they're going to introduce more powers.
Yeah.
Because I had said, I'm like, isn't the idea that like powers stack upon each other? And it seems like All Might and Deku seem to be the only ones who are quirkless, so they must have had their own powers before they had One For All. So would he inherit their powers as well? I think I literally brought this up.
Yeah.
That's just because My Hero Academia is sort of like a story about a Superman-like character becoming Superman.
Yeah, and
so
he says it several times in the earlier seasons, how I became the #1 hero.
Yeah, so it's all about just like, how do I get each and one of these powers?
Yeah, and I mean, Dark Whip,
Black Whip,
dope. You're basically like, hey, Deku, who's basically Spider-Man, here's your Spider-Man powers.
Yeah,
like,
Deku's already just like, it's like, okay, you got your Superman with the strength. I'm gonna give you some Spider-Man now. We're gonna mix this up.
And as like, I know like the critic in me should be like, why are they just going to the major superheroes of every franchise? But the fanboy in me just goes, yeah. it's just like I can't help myself with this series. I really can't, because it's just one of those things that you're just like, fuck yeah, dude.
He's straight
Midoriya got fucking cooler. Like,
yeah, in the movie he has it like a lot more like well honed, so he's basically like fucking swinging around like Spider-Man in that third movie.
New one.
Yeah, so you're like, shit.
I love that. I really like this episode because Shinzo last time revealed, like, it's already kind of like planted from the sports festival that Shinzo can like unlock something deep inside of Deku, you know, like, and I love that, like, he's already kind of worried about that. And then when it happens, he's like, fuck. Like, and it just goes like completely sideways. And you're just like,
ruins the entire exercise, starting to put people in danger.
I actually really like that.
I love that it's not just
I really like that.
I love how it's not just like kind of like Spider-Man webs, but it actually functions more as like the symbiote webs. So you're like,
yeah.
Can't fool me, Horikoshi.
It's true though. It really does work like the symbiote webs. You're like, oh shit. I I love that they burst out of him at first too.
Yeah.
It's like at first it just seems like jagged stabbing things, you know, like, and I think that's just dope. And I think this fight's great. I think, of course, we get a lot of history here. This is just the crowning achievement of this fucking arc, you know, like this is really it, you know, like, and it's really,
This is what we were hinting at the end of the last season with
Yeah.
the post-credit scene. Like, he had, like, woken up from a nightmare, the windows were shattered, and he, like, felt something weird in his hands that looked kind of black.
yeah. And you're like,
Just like, new power!
no paradigm. Which, to be fair, I love it because it also adds a lot that we learn that all for, like, we already knew, but all for one came from one for all, you know. I mean, did I say that opposite? Vice versa, flip it.
Remember, all for one is selfish.
Yes.
One for all is selfless.
Yes.
All for one is the villain.
Get it.
One for all is the quirk.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Of course I knew that.
Yeah. You're not the first. Everyone mixes that up.
I don't mean to mix it up. I know the difference. Like, it's just this episode stands out because it's what we want. It's what we've been hyping up. It's a great fight. It feels dangerous. We add consequences finally. We haven't had consequences with Deku's powers in a bit.
Not for a bit, no.
So it's like, and they were, you know, breaking it out for the movies and stuff like that, you know, where he gets hurt in a little bit. But like, you know, we haven't actually.
Deku hasn't hurt himself or anyone in a while.
You're like, time to almost hurt some people. And I think this episode just feels right at home with the best of My Hero Academia. You know, like, this is one of the best episodes. Like, you're like, hell yeah, this is fucking dope. Now, next up is our brawl, which it's an all-out brawl. As the last two teams of Class A and B fight it to the finish, and it's Deku trying to use dark web, and of course it doesn't go completely according to plan, you know, like, but it's definitely interesting to see
just
it.
the idea of, like, trying to control it and stifle it. Plus, it gives an excuse for Uraraka to swoon over Deku some more.
Yes, which
have to have
it's
that.
actually kind of an important scene that she kind of just, like, throws herself at him, you know, to try to protect him. It's kind of one of her most outwardly affectionate moments she's ever done, you know, to him.
Yeah.
Like, and it's it obviously unravels several times for her this season that she did that. She's like, no, wait, hold on. It's a good conclusion to it. And of course but again, this is just an arc that you're just like, even with this, can we move on?
It's fun for what it is. It's just like, this could have been like half as long.
Yeah, that's basically it, is that we're on the by that time we are on the 11th episode of the season, I think, when we're actually finishing it, and you're kind of like, okay, this could have been 5 episodes, you know, like, but whatever,
I'm sure
it's
the
still
manga,
good.
I'm sure
like,
the manga readers would have been so upset and like, no, it has to be just as long as all these chapters were every week.
Every single segment. Which I'm not saying to cut it, guys. Like, I still enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just from a story perspective. On both counts.
So next up is actually one of my favorite parts of this season. Is Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki are starting their work with Endeavor.
Yeah.
And I love this because it's just, for some reason, it's just in winter break, which you're like, how long is this year? but it starts, you know, it feels cold. I like that aspect of it, is that they're like, and I like Endeavor finally working with them, you know, instead of just being like,
get out of here, kids.
I'm a douchebag, kids. Like, goodbye, next time. You know, like, it's definitely different, you know, like, and a
And
different feel.
it's good that they've like gone out of their way for like Deku to be like, you will train with someone new each time.
Yeah.
Like you got the introduction with All Might, then then you mess with someone else, then you mess with someone else, then you mess. He's like had like 4 teachers at this point.
Yeah, right. It's
Because
good.
you had Gran Torino after that, then you had Night Eye, now you have Endeavor of all people.
I hate to sound preachy, but that's how great learning happens. Is that like you learn from a ton of great teachers, and then you learn, you know, you take their knowledge forward. Like you're just like, wow, does education system actually work? Like, you're like, wait a second. This is a fun episode that's kind of is bridging the gap. It's just like, you know, and it's very much just talking about what's gonna happen and moving forward of this. And then of course they're like, yeah, but we're gonna pause that because Merry Christmas, bitch. And so this will count as our Christmas episode. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna do a Christmas episode. They have episode 13, have a Merry Christmas. And it's a nice Christmas episode.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's cute. It's cute. It's nothing that you'll be like, one of the best anime Christmas episodes of all time. You're not gonna say that. You're gonna be like, it's cute.
Yeah, but you will see Eri in that like little red outfit and you'll be like, that's the cutest shit I've ever seen.
You're like, very cute. Very cute. It also, the best part is that it introduces the the city sinking, and and you're like, how did that happen? You're like wait a fucking second, how'd that fucking happen? And I do love that because it helps carry that mystery into my villain, that you're just like, okay, like that's how you fucking connect some stories, baby.
I feel like it made sense for like as a status quo change to end the season more on that note. We're like, oh man, the game has changed because the villains have come into their own, as opposed to be like, oh, we're doing work studies with Endeavor and this is where we end the season. So I get why they swapped it.
Oh, we haven't talked about OPs yet because now we get a different OP. I think after this episode,
the first, when we start this second section, the first OP is nah.
Yeah. But merry-go-round, I'm down for that shit.
Of course. it's another Man with a Mission song.
I'm sorry, shit's banging.
All their fucking OPs are hype as shit.
I was skipping through the first one, and I was kind of like, meh. You know, I watched it like 3-4 times because I was like, you respect the OP, you watch it. And then I was like, I'm binging, let's fucking skip this.
Yeah.
And
but when you get a banger, you just keep watching that banger.
When merry-go-round came on, I'm like, I'll sit through this. I was like,
the thing is, merry-go-round is good. It's not even like one of their best.
No,
either.
It's not. It doesn't even like fully kick in. But when it does, you're like, yeah.
Like, damn, Man with a Mission. They don't miss every time.
It's true.
Shout out to Inuyashiki. Great show.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Okay. Now, moving on to kind of what's going on here. We get a little look into more world building here, because with off to Endeavor's agency, we also get a look at what Hawk's up to again. And we see him handing out a booklet for the Neo Liberation Army, and you're like, the fuck is that? You're like, is that what the League of Villains?
Army.
Meta Liberation Army, and you're like, is that what the League is calling themselves? And then like, you're like, no, that's different, because he even says it. He's like, the League is not the villain, the Neo.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, uh-oh. And so it's I do like how clandestine Hawks is this whole time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's actually, it's funny because it's believable that what he's doing, but also if the villains want to, they can see through it in an instant, and everyone can kind of feel that, you know, like as the audience member you can feel it. As Hawk, I think Hawk can feel it, that like he's like, if they suspect me at all, I'm done, because it's obvious what I'm doing, you know, like, but But
sometimes the best way to hide things is to hide something right in front of their face.
I hate to sound like it made me feel so much better that Hawks was undercover, though, because at first, at the beginning of the season, when they're like, is Hawks working with the villains? You're like, Hawks, no, you were so cool. you're like, no, Hawks, you were so cool. I knew it. I knew they were playing a cool design against me.
I remember you messaging me when you were watching the last season. It's just like, Hawks is dope. I shouldn't like Hawks, but I really like Hawks. I'm like, yeah, he's basically Angel from X-Men, except they make his powers more detailed.
Yep.
The idea that like all his feathers are like sentient, and he can like send them out and sense what each one is doing and create constructs out of them. It's just like, wow, you managed to make that even cooler.
You're like, that's dope as shit, bro. I loved him like breaking out the sword to threaten Dobby. You're like, hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck yeah, bro. And the good part about this is they introduce the concept of Endeavor's so damn fast. That's why he's the #1 hero. And if the boys want to fucking be like Endeavor, they gotta catch a villain.
Keep up
one time. And I do like that concept that like that you guys thought you would cross many finish lines. There's a real finish line, you know, like if even in real hero work, you know, like you're just.
And they go into like little stuff of like how the precise control of Endeavor's fire is really important because he can like speed up, but also put out fire to the point where it won't hurt anyone around him. Like your little nerd shit like that. It's just like, it's the stuff you think about when you're a comic book nerd. Just like, but how does this work?
You know, it's the part that everyone finds us insufferable for. Yeah. But that's what this show always leans into, and you're like, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you a lot. Now, the next episode, One Thing at a Time, we get a villains moving behind the scenes type of thing with more Hawk stuff. But we delve deeper into basically their training and see what Endeavor's kind of putting them through. But what's shown off in the villains is that they what we're seeing at like the Hawks thing is you're kind of like wait, they already have something that can like destroy all of Japan. You're like, holy shit. Like,
the doomsday scenario.
Yeah, you're like, what the shit. You know, like, because it's like, you're like, damn, they could already probably outclass most of the heroes. If, you know, like, you're like, damn, what the fuck? And then them to be like, yeah, we're just gonna blow up the entire Japan.
Why not?
I do like we get a lot of inner monologue from Endeavor here, you know, like, and kind of him being like, yeah, I am basically shamed by being the #1 hero, but I'm going to keep working on it, and that means I'm gonna have to work on everything.
I like these. I like my heroes. I like my heroes like attempts at like really complicated redemption arcs because we already touched on that with Bakugo. Because you put Bakugo in a pretty shitty place right at the start. To be like, fuck you, dude, kill yourself. Just like, I will never like you.
Yeah.
Fuck, I like you.
Fuck.
Shit, you're actually trying to better yourself. How dare you? And it's just like, okay, now that I'm still going through that, let me throw another pot on the fire and let me take this abusive fucking dad and try to redeem him too. You're like, all right.
You're like, okay. It's definitely one of those things that you're like, oh, that might not happen, but we'll see. Like, now, I think this is a good episode. I do think that the next episode gets shit. I think it gets shit for what it is. And because it's the beach episode. It's the seasons, like,
I will never shit on a beach episode. You are contractually obligated in most anime to get a beach episode at some point.
I'm sorry. I don't know what show you thought you were listening to. Did you think we were going to shit on the beach episode? No.
It's a beach episode.
It's a beach episode. What did you expect from this episode? I expect different costumes. That's it. And I got them.
It was always going to end this way.
It was always going to end this way. Is it weird that they're doing a beach episode for high schoolers? Yes. Is this show for high schoolers? Yes.
Yeah.
Get over it, guys.
Aren't main characters usually around that age for shown in anime? Yeah.
Yes. That's how it works, guys. Sorry, you are creepy. But it's not for you. That's That's basically what it comes down to. Is that
We're also watching these as adults.
yeah. You're just like
The actual demographic would be like, nice.
yes, exactly. So and yes, of course, Sealy is it? What's his name? The seal hero that they're like he's just a seal. Like,
Yeah, I forget the name.
I did. It's like he is so goddamn ridiculous that I can't really fault him at all. You know, like you're like you can hate, but he's so damn ridiculous. I'm gonna let it go.
I kind of feel the same way about like Gang Orca, except they actually make like Gang Orca really scary looking and stuff. But then you also have something like Cementos. And he's like a pro hero and one of the teachers.
What was the wash hero that they just mentioned slightly at the end of the work studies season, like arc here? They're like, and he studied with the wash hero, and it's just a guy that's a washing machine. And they go hero number 6, and you're like 6. You're like what? And the other heroes are 222.
I hope they never answer. I hope they never answer that because like the imagination just wanders. No, we don't actually need to know why he's so high.
What does the wash hero even mean, dude? Like, what does that even mean?
I don't want to know.
You're right. I don't want to.
It's so much fun not knowing, having an answer.
You're like, I don't fucking want to know. So this is an episode that I say that my hero talks to me on a personal level, like in my beliefs, you know, like, but divorced household, that's also something I know about. Like, I was like, hey, awkward family dinners, this I know. Like, I was like, I get this. But if you didn't think I was good at fighting, I'm a child of divorce, baby. But this is the Hellish Todoroki family episode, and it's basically Deku and Bakugo get invited to the Todoroki family dinner, and of course, as you would think, it goes completely awkward and sideways. But I love this episode. I love it. I know it's sort of melodrama. I love this episode.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little melodrama.
There's nothing wrong with a little melodrama, but I love this because it's just like it's like actual, real human problems with each other. You know, none of it feels fake. Or I'm saying melodrama, but none of it's melodrama. You know, it's all actual. Yeah,
none of it feels like
mad at your dad.
Yeah, none of it feels like manufactured.
Yes, it all feels earned. It doesn't come out of nowhere. You know,
and plus you even beyond like how kind of sad this whole situation is, it's not like it's a complete downer.
Yes.
You still have just like, even just the social interactions of like how Deku comes into someone's house, just like, hi, he's like, I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for inviting. Just then Bakugo just kind of walks in just like, what's up with this food?
I love how Deku like says something encouraging and says all these things, and Bakugo's just like, you ruined a great dinner. Like he's like, this food was great and you ruined it. He just like says they ruined it.
That is sort of a running thing with Bakugo, is that he's like a really good cook and kind of a food snob a bit.
Yeah. I love him roasting in the last episode. Who cut these chives? Like, I think that was probably my favorite joke in the entire thing. But he's like, you're really good at this. No, you just suck at this. Like, I was just like, yeah, okay,
get good.
I'm like, I love that. Now, I'll just say that this is, like I said, it's not melodramatic. It's like definitely melodrama. I guess it's family drama, but like
domestic drama.
Domestic, it works. It plays out to a very dramatic scene.
And we were gonna have to address this, so
yeah. And I love the look into the whole Todoroki family. I mean, I really, really like that, actually. You're like, come on, what else we got? They still haven't explained what happened to the little brother.
To be fair, like,
and they still don't by the end of this. You're like, tell me about the little brother.
Like, in a context like this, forgiveness and redemption is always going to be a subjective thing. It's going to vary from person to person. But it is cool that we're sort of exploring the moral ambiguity of it and the fact that Endeavor is at least trying.
Yeah. And, you know,
it's interesting. But there's never really like a right answer to something like this.
Nope.
It's a
Nope.
tough one.
No,
but
because he already hurt his family.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
how many?
like,
Yeah, but it's cool that for a show that could just straight up be like, I mean, this is a superhero school show. Just get to the punchy.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's explore domestic abuse and dysfunctional families.
but in a great.
I don't know why I went to that like one dude from those old like dinosaur shows.
Yeah, right.
Walking with dinosaurs, dysfunctional families.
It's a really good episode that sets up an almost even better episode in the water down. In the Unforgiven
Stage hazard.
Stage hazard. Endeavor basically gets hunted down by a foe called Ending, like as just a really psychotic guy, kind of Jokerish in a way, who's just like,
yeah,
hey,
kinda.
Endeavor, I want you to kill me. Kind of like Batman and Joker being like, I want you to kill me. Like, yeah, like I have no one else I want to die by.
More Snake.
And I think this episode's great because, of course, it deals with the family drama even further, but adds intense stakes to it. You know, like that the Ending has been following them around for a while and knew where his son was going to be able to kidnap him.
Yeah.
And you're just like, ooh, and then using him as a shield basically to fight Endeavor, and Endeavor just basically freezing up, you know, like not being able to take losing another son in a fight, you know, like, and he's just like, which is something we had not seen him do at all yet. He's just been ruthless,
Yeah.
you know, like, and so much so that Ending expects him to do it. That's the point. He's like, he's not even trying to goad him that hard. He's just like, I got your son, kill me. Like, come on, you know, like, it's, you know, like, it's not even anything crazy, you know, like,
Whose son do I have to kidnap to get a deaf around
yeah,
here?
That's basically it. And I do think there's some dope ass moments in this episode, especially with the car spinning out, the boys jumping out and then chucking all the fucking cases at each other.
Yeah,
like
that's
that's a great little like action moment. You're like, hell yeah. And I do like that, like, Endeavor freezes and the boys don't, you know, like, you know, like I do enjoy that a lot. And like, but I do like the very real moment that, like, his son doesn't even forgive him there, you know, because, like, he saves his life, but you're like, yeah, but you put my life in danger in the first place, you know, like, and you still neglected me as a child. Like, you're just like, you're just like,
yeah, it's good that the show's not trying to make this easy.
Right? Like, it's not just like he saves him and he's like, thanks, Dad. Like, you know, it's more just like, no. What did you think was gonna happen here? You know, like, and you're just like, shit. You're like, that's some true shit. Like, you're like, it doesn't, you know, sometimes it doesn't matter how many times your father has actually saved your life. It's like, hey, if he's still a goddamn dick, you know, like, that's just,
Oh well.
it's the truth of it. I do wonder about the end of this arc where he says, you know, he's gonna move to somewhere else away from them and give them a house, and you're kind of like, one step forward, two steps back, dumbass. But okay, like, it's definitely
it's sort
like,
of
course a hard
it's
choice.
Weird.
It's a hard choice
because it's just one of those things where, like,
he's putting them in danger.
He's putting him in danger, but they also, most of them aren't really comfortable with him around.
Yeah.
And you can tell that, like, the energy changes when he is home. So you're like, ugh. So I get the logic of him trying to take himself out of the equation. So
yeah,
it's tough. It's one of those things. It's like, there's not really a win here.
And I love him talking about his dream where it's all four of his family members all happy together, but he's never at the table. You're like, they keep repeating it. Of course, it's anime. Like, they're gonna keep repeating it, but it's one of those things where you're like, damn.
Oh man, when shonen anime finds, like, the one symbol, they will fucking repeat it ad nauseum. Shout out to, like, if you guys ever watch Naruto, or if you're still a Naruto fan, fucking swing. Naruto fans will know what I'm talking about. The fucking swing.
So I do think I think this whole second half of the season after that first arc is really just flying, and it just moves so well. And this kind of wraps up that Endeavor and the three boys together arc, and then moves on to kind of a standalone episode in all of this. And I mean that in a very serious way. It doesn't connect with much else, and but still builds the world around it. It's more of a hero than anyone. And it's Eraserhead and Present Mike, our fucking narrator, taking a trip to Tartarus prison and meet face to face with Korogiri. And Korogiri has always been a scary villain, but them adding the layer that it's one of Eraserhead and Present Mike's best friends,
oldest friends who's been completely brainwashed.
Yeah, you're like, and he's dead. Like not even brainwashed. This man's been brought back from the dead and just used as like a sack. You know, like this isn't even like,
it was a real that episode was a real unexpected turn, just in a lot of ways. I'm like, okay. When I remember finishing it, because I was watching it with my buddy Alex, same dude I watch all the horror films with. We were binging it together because we were both trying to catch up on the movie. And we both came out of it just like, okay, I did not expect to go into this season, let alone this episode, and get this much dimension out of Korogiri out of nowhere. But sure.
And it's kind of, the great thing about this standalone is it's a great like transition from the last arc, but it's even better introduction to like the deep dive on the villains we are about to do, you know, like, and in a kind of like surprisingly heartbreaking episode.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like a standalone episode that's secretly a bridge episode.
Yeah, because it has the whole beginning with Oraku. How do you say her name?
Deku's love interest.
Yes.
Or Araka.
Araka. She like, it starts with her by accident dropping the Christmas ornament, and the girls being like, "Oh, she's in love with Deku." Like, you know, like they're all like, "We're just catching on to this," and she's like, "Wait, no, hold on." Like, I actually had to rewatch the moment again when she picks up the ornament, because I was like, guys, you spent so much time doing that like one motion there. It's so well animated. Like, I had to like bring it back. I was like, damn, they were just like waiting for that moment. Like the animators, they were like, one shot, and then they were like,
yeah, it's weird, the little things that animators like to flex on, all like the simple stuff.
Seriously, guys, I tell you, if you watch the season and you didn't like appreciate that moment, go back and rewatch it, and you'll be like, damn, that was so fluid, and like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I was like, what the shit?
It's one of those things where like, I got a little bit of time, let me spruce up this little bit.
And I'm excited to learn more about Kirigiri. I'm excited that the start of this plot here is pretty great. You're just like, hell yes. Now, and I think it's almost more heartbreaking that it's Present Mike and Eraserhead, who you've always kind of thought as these invincible teachers, who are just there, you know, like, and then to learn this like dark history from them, you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, shit, that sucks, dude.
Eraser is not too surprising. He's such like a dour character that like you wouldn't be surprised if there was some shit in his path. But Present Mike is such a cheerful dude that you're like, oh.
Yeah. And like his threats at the end of the season, what's he's gonna do, you're like Present Mike, shit, dude. Like, you're like, I didn't think he was capable of any shit like that. Jeez.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I guess he is a top hero, you know? Like, you're like, damn. Now it starts the next episode is called My Villain Academia. Now, of course, that name, you're like, this is gonna be good.
Yeah. And then we even change the opening slightly so that the logo shifts. It like reverses the colors and it becomes My Villain Academia in the opening. I'm like, yeah.
It's the commitment to the bit is so good.
Yeah,
you know,
I love it when anime does this. If any of you guys listening are JoJo's fans, you know you always look forward to those last few episodes where they add the sound effects to the opening or they change it to reflect something they've just revealed. JoJo does that a lot.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I love that. I love this ad here, and I love this arc. I will say I think that
I was
this arc
super
is,
into this arc.
I crushed it. I I was going
Just
slowly through the
couldn't
other
stop.
stuff, and then I was like, "Bah!" Like I love this. This arc is so, it almost feels out of nowhere, and it feels so contained,
And
in
yet
such
it
a
feels,
great way.
and yet it almost feels inevitable that as the heroes in Class 1A would grow, so of course so too would the League of Villains.
And that's basically what this whole arc is basically like, oh, you saw the class step up. You don't think that the villains weren't gonna step up right now, you know? Like, come on, let's go. And they really do here. So we get this first starting episode, which is setting things up, which is basically we get introduced to well, not really introduced, but brought into more of the world of the Doctor.
Yeah.
And we get introduced to the fucking big guy himself. What is his name? The big motherfucker. The guy they're fighting for the next two episodes.
Oh, Gigantomachia?
Yeah, Gigantomachia.
Great name.
Yes, great name. I love him. I think he's great. That for some reason he's obsessed with All for One, and you're like what? You're like, but and he's just obsessed with power. You're just like, okay. And then for them to be like, if you can subjugate this guy, you'll get extra powers from me, from the Doctor. You're like,
which was inevitable. I knew they were always going to go there. I'm like, All for One's gonna fucking give Shigaraki more powers because he has to have that parallel with Deku.
Right, exactly. Which I do like here. Like, it's such
everyone's got to have an arch nemesis.
Yeah, you gotta. And I feel like they take an arch nemesis, which you kind of think is weak at this point, and just go, we're fucking putting the gas on this baby.
Yeah, and even then we were already slowly building that up. Pretty much ever since All for One was taken out of the picture and put in prison, like Shigaraki's had to continually step up his game.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh shit. Now, this doesn't really start the Liberation Army arc fully here yet. It is more about taking down the big hoss. But
yeah, and just the idea of like, what are the League of Villains? Where are they at this current point in time?
Yeah, and but it's a solid episode. It's a good beginning of something great here. But it moves in. We do get into the Liberation Army with the revival party for the next episode in 21. Now, the League of Villains just waits for Gigantomachia to wake up as they clash with the Meta Liberation Army. Very simple description. Not so simple. Like,
in the actual episode,
because the episode is kind of pretty fucking epic. It starts off with them having fought Gigantomachia for the last month, trying to wear him out. Like, and they only break for 3 hours every day, and he wakes up after 3 hours and then chases Shigaraki down again and attacks him again.
Yeah,
and you're just like, oh Jesus! Like, and of course you're like, well, that's gonna amp up Shigaraki. you're like, but then you think about it and you're like, wait, is that gonna amp up the rest?
Everyone else?
You're like, everyone else, and of course it is, guys. Of course it is. It's gonna fucking take off. This is a wild episode because you start off with that epic like fights with Gigantomachia, and then you're jumping into their beginning of their fight with the Liberation Army, which at first they think has to be just a couple guys, like they're just bluffing. They're like just kind of
just all posturing,
which you're thinking too because you haven't fucking seen these guys at all. And then you learn that it's literally this entire city, and they've all banded together to basically be heroes, like for just the Liberation Army, and they just like always use their meta powers, so that way they are free as metahumans. You know, like they just lean into their.
This is systemic.
Yeah.
we're into some fucking Wicker Man Stepward wide shit entering this city.
And basically the entire city is unleashed on the League of Villains. And as you could bet, 7 people against an entire city is wild, you know, like, and and basically you have the great ticking bomb of they say at the beginning of the episode 3 hours, and by the end of this first episode it's 1 hour till Jesus, how do I say
Gigantomachia.
Machia fucking wakes up and comes back and just kicks all their asses. And you're just like, and it's great because like you're like, first off, how is he gonna fight off a Machia after getting his ass handed to him by this entire city?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like, you're just like, how's that gonna be possible? And it, like, the great thing about the consequences of this arc is you kind of go, I know this is called My Villain Academia, but like they could literally kill off the entire league here, you know, like they could just like axe them because they can, you know, like, and it wouldn't change much because now you have a fucking liberation army.
Yeah, at most they would keep Shigaraki alive.
Yeah, you were like, definitely. That was my fan theory going into this arc. I was like, they may kill everybody and just have Shigaraki, you know, like, and then be like, Shigaraki, you're in charge, like, which I was not far off with that. But like, I do enjoy that this is like the league's lowest point, and it's not even against the heroes.
No, not at all.
Like, it's not even against the you're just like, damn, like these guys are really bringing it. Like, and I do love the idea of this whole town just like pouncing on them. It's crazy. It's basically the plot of Expendables, but actually good. And you're like, dope. Like, let's go. Let's see this. And of course, they just get. Nobody's powered up in the first episode. Everyone just gets their ass handed to them. Yeah. Everyone just gets. Dobby's facing an ice monster dude who's just nuts. That guy's nuts. Like I first off love his design that he's just a hood creature. You're just like, oh, okay.
Evil ice climber.
Evil ice climber or evil Kenny. Like, like,
basically.
Evil ice Kenny. There's just and also learning that Slido was part of the Liberation Army made me kind of be like, damn, Slido, you betrayed us all. Like, because you met Slido like one time before, and then for Slido to be like in the Liberation Army, you're like, damn you, Slido, I knew you were bad. Slido is, of course, the one hero that just slides everywhere, which you were like, that's creepy looking. like, I was always kind of like, okay.
But I thought I could trust you.
Now, they just get their ass handed to them, but of course, Toga is trying to fight off a whole mob of people, and I love this whole segment of her being interviewed, you know, like the whole time of when she's being attacked. It's just like it's such an easy way to write in like that deep dive into the character that I was kind of like, I appreciate these. It was just like, you don't have to do exposition, but you're doing it. You know, like you built the exposition into the plot. And I was like, I appreciate that.
Which you should have plenty of examples for, because anime loves to do it.
Yes. And now, and then basically Toga gets to, uses, oh my God, Oraka's, the little blood of Oraka's that she had left. And then we learn that she basically is powered up now and can use people's powers
as opposed to just mimicking their appearance,
which is a big buff. You're like, oh, okay. You're like, that's a big change, you know, like
you've gone from Mystique to Rogue. Interesting.
Yeah, right. You're like, Mystique Rogue. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, I see this now. I love the animation in this scene. The like of Toga running fast. It's dope. It's dope. It looks great. I love, and as I said already earlier, we deep dive into like Toga being obsessed with blood and like biting birds when she was young just to see the blood and lots of things. And it's funny that my first thought was like, oh, I get it. Like, you know, like instead of like, that's fucked. My first thought was like, oh, like she was always obsessed with blood because that's who she's born as, you know? Like, you're like, damn. Like, you're like, does that make her evil? No, her killing people does. But
yeah.
you're
It's
like,
just one of those things where, like, it's just a part of her core makeup, including her quirks. You're like, it be that way sometimes.
it's kind of like it's almost like a sad, they were able to wrap this, like, sad story into it. And you're just like, oh, shit. You guys made me feeling bad for the villains, like a tiny little bit. Like, of course, double.
You mean twice?
Twice. Gets beat up by his clones at the end there as he's trying to help Toga. And basically, they're like, you get Toga powering up, so you're like, Toga's not gonna die, but you're like, because you're not gonna do a whole power up scene and then. Unless you're gonna kill her in that scene, you know, like, sorry, we went to film school. We just analyzed stories too much. We watched too many things.
Yeah,
that, like,
you can sort of, like, see the pieces.
You see the pieces, you know, like, and maybe that wasn't apparent, but you're just like, yeah, you don't just waste the time, you know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
To do that. Now, I love the next episode, Sad Man's Parade, because Twice basically just goes ape shit. and
which is good because we already had that, like, glimpse into Twice's backstory before.
Yeah.
Like 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of were already like, I know Twice, but to get this, like, deeper look into him and his break in his psyche and what, like, he definitely had a lot more power before. Why is he like this now? You know, like, and for them to be like, he's fixed. And by that we mean he's even more mentally fucked up now.
Yeah.
But he's accepted his fucked up.
I cured my insanity with more insanity.
Exactly. And basically, it's explained that Twice can, when he makes a double, he makes 2. And the first one's stronger, and that one can make 2, you know, like, and it's just like, so he uses that to basically create an army and storm this entire city. And you're like, oh, the playing field has leveled out a little bit, guys.
Yep.
Like, you're like, but it also makes you be like, damn, Twice, you fucking strong as shit, dude. Like damn, that, like, a power that you thought before from even the flashback things was kind of pointless.
He would make copies of other people, but he said he wouldn't do it of himself anymore for personal reasons, because there was that whole thing where he cloned himself a bunch of times and the clones started killing each other.
Yeah.
So then he couldn't even remember, like, who was the original one. It's weird, and it also reminds me of a Multiple Man X-Men story.
Yes.
They did something similar where it's like Multiple Man can clone himself, but then a few clones just kind of stranded off on their own, and they just started their own lives. Kind of like that one clone in Clone Wars who, like, started a family with a Twi'lek.
Yeah,
that sort of happened, but then when the original died, so did they. So they dealt with the repercussions of that. Yeah. You're like, damn, man.
Damn, man. Damn that.
I just came here for the punching.
And speaking of punching, we get it. You know, like, there's a lot. Like, it's funny because Twice just kind of throws himself at everything now that he can double himself, and he just, like, swarms people like World War Z or Train to Busan. You know, like, it's just like he just throws all of it at people. And I do love seeing the Liberation Armies, like, it just all fall apart, because it's like, it's not that they have bad ideas. You're like, yeah, metahumans, live your best life, but also don't also be fascists, you know? Like, you're like please, like, you're like, that's a cool idea, but don't be a fucking fascist. And they're like, too bad, I gotta, I can't not be a fascist. You're like, Redestro. But I do love the world building of Destro and Redestro here. I do love that we get a look back at, I think what's important about this season in the All Might stuff and the Redestro stuff is we learn that the hero stuff has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's lots of generations there. And there's even generations that are just lost to time, you know, like, because things got so bad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, they always refer to like this really dark period before like humans and before like people with quirks were accepted. It's just
Yeah,
like,
because
and it also seems to imply, especially even as early as like season 2, that the world would be more advanced if we didn't have that whole like spat and war with people dying and people not getting along with people with quirks.
Yep.
The idea that like that got so bad that sort of halted progress.
Yeah, and that's why it sort of seems like our timeline.
Yeah.
You know? Like instead of what should be an advanced superhuman society, you know.
Which is a good baked-in excuse.
Yeah. You're like, that's
not even something you really needed to delve into. It'd be like, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, right. You're like, I'm already suspending my disbelief.
Nope, this is a key part of the world building. You're like, okay, good on you.
Good on you guys. Now, I do dig Reed Destro's power is just stress, and I was like, me too, bud. Me too. I was like,
mood.
Yeah, I was like, and him being like 100% stress, and then the next episode, 150%. I was like, yes, I have been here. Like, I was like, yes, I do understand, sir.
Just like Hulk accepts stress instead of anger. You're like, okay.
You're like, I get that. Like, and I do love that, like, that's also the reason why he loses, because he's not actually stressed enough to hold the power for the army, you know? Like, and you're like, oh, shit, bro. You didn't want it enough. Like,
damn, son.
Damn, son. I do love that, like, that they don't even, like, Twice is doing all this, like, taking down the whole city, and then he still gets to Redestro first, you know? Like, it's like he's busy with literally everyone else, and he still somehow gets to Redestro before Todoroki. Shigaraki. Sorry, and you're like shit. But it's a good fight.
Yeah,
is for sure. I fucking love that. Now we do a little break in these episodes here that not really a break, a deep dive into what they call it Tenko Shimura origin.
Because that was Shigaraki's original name.
And kind of deep dive into who he is. And you're just like, oh shit.
So this was my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah.
Of course. Because it was fucked up.
It was fucked. It was fucked, dude. This is the simple way to put it. He gets abandoned as a child, and everyone just kind of accepts that he's that a superhero will come along. You're just like, but a superhero didn't. Supervillain did.
Yeah. Do we dive into the family with this one?
Yeah. Yes, we do get into that he's related to
Nana Shimura, who was All Might's mentor and the previous holder of One for All.
Yep, and you're like, like,
yeah, and we had touched on that when he fought All for One, but now we're actually like delving into it.
Yeah, we're actually getting to it. And that basically she was the only one not afraid of him all the time, you know, like, and I mean, probably everyone should have been afraid of him. Yeah. Probably like everyone should have been afraid of him. Like, I'm just going to say, this definitely seems like a part that should have been afraid of him. Especially the next episode where he's like, I felt a serene joy from killing my parents. And you're like,
okay, so I think that one was my favorite episode.
Yeah, is it the next one? They call it, sorry, I flipped it. Or they still Tomoro Shiraki origin, so they changed it from his
original name to his new name. Yeah,
and
that's clever.
And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. So like, I mean, I hate to say that I love the villain, but he's so fucking dope. and that, like, earlier in 2 episodes back when he fucking like disappeared a whole crowd. And then that he goes up to the tower with Redestro in the origin episode and just destroys it in a touch. Like, I love seeing the shot of all the citizens watching the tower drop as you can like see their hope is dying, and you're like, oh, you guys fucked with the wrong guys. Like, oops, you guys fucked with the wrong guys. It's like, it's kind of basically they like, you know, it's like trying to hold the fucking Joker hostage for something, like he's just not going to work with you guys.
Nope.
Like he's just gonna fuck you up. And I think that these episodes, these two, the origin episodes, are just so good. So well developed, so fucked.
Just the idea that he was like abandoned after what he had done. He had like been in this family where his father especially was very like abusive to him because he had like held a grudge over his like mother dying and therefore leaving the family.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of those things where like his sister's like nice to him and like everyone else is nice to him, but they're like afraid of the father. But then he also comes to realize just like, no, they're part of the problem because none of them stopped him.
Yep. You're like, hey.
And they were all just like trying not to take the brunt of them themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, all that stress adding up, and then his quirk activates.
And he melts people. Like it.
So the interesting thing about this one is that I had wondered why the dog had like melted into like a puddle of like viscera as opposed to just disintegrating into ash. I guess they decided just not to censor this scene because from what I've gathered in the manga, apparently that's how his quirk has always worked. Where like he melts. Straight up melts you.
Oh, but I was just saying it. Yeah. I wasn't even like, I didn't know that.
So that's wild. But for the anime, just to not have it be as violent because of like TV standards and stuff like that, they changed it to more like disintegration, turning into ash and stuff.
Statue and then fall apart.
Yeah. But I guess for this specific moment, he gets to melt that dog.
Yeah, you're like, oh, Jesus. Like, but these are some powerful episodes. Is basically it. This is some villain origin shit. This is, it's dark. It's fucked. It's one of those things that you're just like, damn, this is some actual like top level villain shit. You know, like I dig this. Like you're like, this is making him different. Like in a way. Like because I kept bringing up the Joker with here, and of course you can't. I don't think you can talk about this character without bringing up the Joker. I that's hard, like because he's obviously drawing some influence from him, but
a lot in a thematic sense.
Yeah, in a thematic sense. But I think that he really stands out in this episode. Really.
Shigaraki was already a character I super liked, and plus I like Eric Vale in most roles he's in. And he's also the character I love to make fun of and imitate all the time. Yeah. No. Why did he kill that gnome? I want my gnome. Almighty. I just love imitating his voice. So it's just like, oh, this fucking shithead who's just like, yeah, he's a villain, but, he's not that effective. Coming around to this arc, just like, oh, he's a problem.
And they're like, and I love how they're like, he's a problem, and they're like, and add more powers. So like, and they're like, you're like, oh god.
Yeah, to the point where it's just like, I think the heroes are kind of out of their league right now. Shigaraki just got a huge power bump.
Yeah, that's like, I don't even know what they're going to do. Like, I didn't even know what they were going to do when he's fully powered at the end of this episode. And then for him to be like, the doc to be like, we're juicing you for 4 months. And you're like, huh? And you're like, wait, like, and
Deku's just got super strength, which you can't use at 100% most of the time. And he's got Spider-Man webs. So you're like,
he's gonna need to
Shigaraki literally leveled the whole ass city. I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah, and that was just a flex too. That wasn't even like, it destroyed his arm, but it was like you're still like he was just trying to fuck with them, in a way, like he's not even fully going all out, like, and you're just like.
But Shigaraki could literally be like, let me take a visit to UA High School and just
level it.
Okay, that's gone.
And you're just like, oh my, that's it. I mean, name a Superman villain that does nobody. Like, that's just fun.
Not with that level of effectiveness. No. Even like a evil Kryptonian would have to go through each building, knock them down, shoot a bunch of lasers, not just simply put his hand down and be like, okay, now crumble away.
Yep. I love this. I think it takes him to a completely different level, and of course that's like meant to happen. But it's like you're like damn, and then of course they call him the new king basically because the Mecha Gigantomachia bows down to him as the new king because he completely levels that entire city like no problem, and he's like, okay, you are the successor, and then for the entire Liberation Army to be like, that was badass.
Yo, that was dope, bro. All right,
that was dope as shit. We're joining your party, like, and you're just like, oh, now he's got an army too. You're like, fuck.
For the record, I fucking love the shot when Gigantomachia wakes up and he just fucking flies out towards them. Oh, it's like, so fucking funny. Just because he's so big, you don't expect him to be that fast.
Right.
Just that fucking shot of him just fucking zooming out.
I love him coming out of the ground.
You're
you're like, fuck, dude, what were you doing down there? You're just like, Jesus Christ. I just love it. It's just like him like piercing his face through the cracks in the ground. You're like, fuck yeah. I think that obviously these 2 episodes are the crowning achievement of the season. You know, like these 2 episodes are they're awesome. It's unexpected. It's full of lots of power-ups from everybody except for Strange Mask Dude. Strange Mask Dude is not fucking that the magician guy.
Did Dobby get a power-up? I don't think he really got a boost.
No, he just said that he's been fighting for he's just like
because like Toga got like an extension to her powers like
twice definitely jumped in power.
Dobby not so much.
Yeah, and I love how much they just don't care about the reptile dude at all in this show.
Oh,
like,
Spinner.
Yeah, they're like, Spinner's just here to look good in the scene.
Yeah,
guys.
he's just here to be a Stain fanboy, I guess.
But I did like that they addressed that. They're like, Toga, you joined because it's Spinner saying it. He's like, you joined because of Stain. When we're very far from that right now. Why are you still with us?
Yeah,
you know, and I love that.
We've moved way past that, bro. That was back in season 2. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Stain's old news, my dude.
So I do think it's funny that like him and the magic hat guy just didn't get fucking power-ups at all. Even though they fought Mr. Compress, they just like, even though Mr. Compress brought like, they might do something with that where they're like he now can compress things even faster, you know, like,
or larger things, or more complicated things. Who knows?
But it's just funny that not everyone powered up. Like,
and it might have felt too convenient if every single one on the team did.
Yeah. I did think they might kill somebody this time in the league, but they were just like, nah. We still got toy lines for all of these people.
Yeah, sorry. And we did kill one of the League of Villains members like last season with Overhaul, so at least we're not afraid.
And Giran gets really like beaten up here that you think, well, Giran's kind of out of prep, like with taking all his fingers, I think his powers are useless, so you're kind of like, oh, Giran's out of it. Like you're like never mind then. Like you're like, they saved him but he's fucked. And then the last episode, a really hopeful episode and kind of a like, thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming to this season, was the High Deep Blue Sky. And it's kind of a combo episode, bringing you back to UA.
Yeah. Is
being like, the villains, it's got to go into hibernation for 4 months. So what is UA up to? You know, like, and we jumping back to them. I will say that I love the emotional moments with All Might and Eraserhead at the end here, with them talking about like, what's All Might supposed to do now, you know, like, and he's all up. I do love that because like he was doing everything before and like was their number one. It's kind of like an Olympian, you know, like it's got kind of like, what does Michael Phelps do after fucking winning literally all the gold possible, you know, like what's he supposed to do with his life? Of course he's gonna love swimming, but he can't fucking do it all the time.
Yeah,
you know? He can't even compete, you know, like, so it's kind of like one of those situations where it's like, you contributed enough to the sport, rest, but like, how could you?
And Alexander wept because there were no more worlds to conquer.
Yes. And you're just like, it's And it's like kind of a sad moment because you love All Might. And
Yeah.
You're kind of like, you're like, it's okay, All Might. Like it's gonna get better, I'm sure. No, it's not. You're gonna die, but
At some point.
at some point. Just to push Midoriya that much further.
You gotta kill the mentor
You
in
gotta
order for the student to finally come into his own. It's tried and true. See,
Tried-
not all cliches are bad. There are some ones that are just so deep. They're just like, you love it. You love to see it
You
every
love to
time.
see
You
it.
just gotta do it.
Gotta do it. Now, I mean, I know I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, I want to watch that movie right now. Yeah, just like, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't like it as much as Heroes Rising, but I appreciate that it was kind of like, it felt more like, we're going to a whole different country and we're kind of traveling through this country. So it feels more like an adventure in certain aspects.
Than a side quest. Yeah.
And there is a pretty cool, like, what's the holy shit moment? Because you had, like, the double one. You had, like, a double one for all last time and, like, the fucking double Detroit Smash before that. What's the holy shit moment for this? I'm like, oh, there it is. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty
good.
cool.
At least they did that. I mean, you gotta. If you're gonna make the movie, you gotta have an oh shit moment. Like, it's just dope. Now, guys, that's every episode of this My Hero season. I think we pretty much summed it up at the beginning. You know, it starts off sort of slow, but once it hits, it's hitting, baby. It's fucking hitting.
I wonder what will go from here. I was talking to you about this before we had recorded, but according to Horikoshi, like, we might be winding down soon.
But winding down on the manga, which we don't even know how much further ahead they are. I'm not exactly sure. I don't want to look ahead. That's the thing, is I don't want to look at the manga.
Yeah, neither do I.
Like,
I purposely don't read it. And in fact, in my Discord, I usually tell people not to, so they don't fucking read the manga. If you're gonna, keep your mouth shut about it. I don't want to hear shit from you. I want to experience the show as the show presents it to me.
Yeah, and I know that doesn't always happen. I know, you know, like I'm not shitting on manga, like, guys. I'm really not. But it's definitely one of those things that this show is such an achievement in, like, anime. I think that you're just like, damn, let it go. Let it ride. Let's see where it goes. And now, I mean, to the critics who are like, My Hero is just, it's just dumb. It's just origin stories again and again and again. I will say that, guys, it's about the human stories they're telling in this setup. You know, like, it's not about, like, yes, the fights are some of the best parts about My Hero, but
and
it's
to
about
be fair,
the human
even
stories.
and sometimes even compared to, like, its contemporary, like, shonen, like, adaptations, sometimes the fights, like, aren't as impressive just on a pure Sakuga level. But it's one of those things where, like, I care about the journey in My Hero Academia more so than most of its contemporaries.
Yes.
It's something like, I know everyone loved Demon Slayer, and Ufotable fucking killed it with that show as far as the fights were concerned and the animation was concerned, but I couldn't care less about the actual, like, cast or plot, which is kind of an issue.
Yeah. And I think that that's kind of the most important part for me is, of course, great storytelling. You know, like, great storytelling is always going to take precedent over pretty much everything in my mind. Be that movie, video game, or book, you know, or manga or comic book, you know, like, it's storytelling is, it's not always important, of course, with video games. Sometimes pretty picture and boom boom bap is the point. But great storytelling will trump anything else. And I think that My Hero really flexes that, is that they got real human stories told in a fascinating way. And sure, there's some characters you might not give a shit about, but that's okay. There's shit tons of them. There's
There's plenty to choose from.
And basically, guys, we will come back for a movie review once I can get my hands on it. And we hope to talk more about season 6 when it comes to it.
Which I imagine, if it's anything like most of the seasons, will probably be in the spring when it starts.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll take that. And basically, guys, thank you for listening to this episode.
We know you like the anime episodes, we noticed.
Yes, we noticed that the anime episodes get some views, so we want to try to do more anime when we can. So may this be a step forward in us doing more anime episodes, you know, like, and guys, thank you for listening. Please check out our website, galaxygeek.com, where you can see tons of geeky things, but also every episode of this podcast in audio or video form. If you're listening to us right now, there is a YouTube version. You can watch on YouTube and see our beautiful faces. And there's also we have a Facebook and a Discord for the Warp Shelf. If you want to get in on the culture, or if you just want an easy way to listen to the podcast, they're all there. And you can also check us out on our own personal social medias, where we post things about our lives, what we're getting on our shelves.
Yep.
I'm Yupfrank on there.
Mod Karika.
And that's Twitter and Instagram.
Yes.
And guys, again, thank you. I love talking about things I love, and I love doing that with Deshaun, and I thank you guys for listening. It means the world to me.
We gotta geek out to the ether, so we don't bother our friends about it all the time, or significant others in your case.
Yes. But thank you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
See you next time.